Hi guys, it's Phoebe. Welcome back to my channel. As you can probably tell from the thumbnail, I read a ton of books in June, and then I got sick. That's why I sound a little funky. But then I fell off the bandwagon toward the end of the month. But it's fine because this is the most I've read in a month all year and probably for a while. So let's just jump right into it in no particular order. First up, we've got Namesake by Adrienne Young. This is the sequel to Fable. I think I just read that book last month. So this is about, it's continuing the story, a young girl who gets abandoned by her father as a child. In the first book, she was finding her way back to him. And this second book is following those events. This duology was fine in my opinion. I didn't really love it. It's definitely, I think, for a younger audience. So I'm not mad that I read it, but it also just didn't do that much for me. I also read Brandon Sanderson's Cytotonic, the sequel to Skyward and Starsight. Is that the right order? Yes, good for me. And I thought this was going to be the last book. I thought it was going to be a trilogy, but it turns out there's going to be a fourth, and I think the fourth one is going to be the last one. This series is about a young girl who lives on a planet, like a small community on a planet. The community is people, and there are aliens that keep attacking them, and basically most of their life is just trying to stay alive. Her father was a trader, and so she spent most of her young life trying to prove that her father wasn't a traitor, and to make a name for herself outside of that, and also try to find a way to save her community. I'm really enjoying this series. I am excited for the fourth book, and I definitely recommend this as a strong YA sci-fi series. Along the same YA sci-fi vein, I read True Life by Jay Kristoff. This was the third and final book in the Lifelike series. It follows a gang of, some of them are people, some of them are kind of people, most of them are robotic in some way or another. This band of friends across the wastelands in what is obviously post-apocalyptic future America. This series just didn't, I can't say that it did much for me, unfortunately. It wasn't bad. I just really found myself while I was reading this book being but what is the point and why do I care? So again, it was fine. It just didn't grab me as much as I would like to be grabbed by a book. Okay, more sci-fi. I read A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor by Hank Green. This is the sequel to An Absolutely Remarkable Thing, which was another book that I didn't really love because I felt like it focused more on the psychological effects that being famous had on the main character. Sorry, there's a cat hair floating around. This book was definitely more sci-fi focused, so I enjoyed that overall more. But I still just didn't love it. I don't really know how to. Basically, in the first book, the main character, April, she gets famous for kind of introducing these extraterrestrial statue life form things to the world on the internet. Lots of wacky things happen that I don't know really how to describe. Anyway, this duology, again, was fine, and I do really love Hank Green, so I wanted to love it more than I did. I just didn't, unfortunately. Next up, Glass Sword by Victoria Aveyard. This is in the Red Queen series. Another kind of, I don't want to say mediocre book for me, because the ending of this one really got me, and so I'm really looking forward to reading. I think there's 4 books. Yes, 4 books in this series. So I'm really looking forward to continuing this. It is about I want to say urban fantasy because there is like modern technology kind of things. But in this society, there's really two different kinds of people. There are the like normal people who have red blood and like no magical abilities and are really basically slave labor, for the other side of society, which has silver blood and magical powers. And our main character, Mare, in the first book, finds out that while she has red blood, she also has magical powers, and kind of ends up getting like sucked into the royal family, and kind of this intrigue, I guess I want to say, of how powers really work and how much the silver-blooded people know about her and other people who have red blood but magical abilities. And so this book follows her and some of her friends going around trying to gather up other people who have red blood and magical powers to protect them from the silver-blooded people, I guess. So again, it's I'm not saying this was like my new favorite series or anything, but the ending of this book really did get me, and again, I am excited to continue reading the series. Now I've got Lady Smoke by Laura Sebastian. This is the sequel to Ash Princess. I think this one is a trilogy and not a quartet. This book follows our main character, Theo, who in the first book was royalty. She was like a princess in a country that got conquered, and the conquering people kept her around basically to show off their power and how they had defeated this nation. In the second book, she is trying to rise to power in her own right and win her kingdom back from the conquering people. Kind of same as like the Red Queen series. I am enjoying this. I still think it's good, but I'm not quite sure it's my like a new favorite or anything, but I am definitely continuing this series. Next, I finally finished The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater. This is The Raven King. It's the final book in that quartet. I enjoyed this series. It's really interesting, really different from any other kind of, I don't even want to say fantasy because it's set in like modern day. But it's really different. It's really unique. It's one of those book series that I wished I had found. When did these come out? I think it was when I was in college. But I wish it was when I was younger, because I think like middle school, high school me would have really enjoyed this series, and it probably would have been, I don't know, more in my wheelhouse at that time versus now in my late 20s. But regardless, I did really enjoy this series, and I'm super glad that I read it. It's about a girl named Blue who befriends this group of boys. She lives like in a small town in Virginia, and there's an all boys like boarding school in the town, and she ends up befriending a group of boys who go to school there. And the leader, I guess, of this band, Gansey, is looking for a Welsh prince that is allegedly buried on a ley line in the area. And so the series is about them trying to find Welsh prince or Welsh king. It doesn't really matter. Welsh royalty. They're trying to find his not even grave because they believe that he is alive. So that's what the series is about. And it is really good. Like I said, that's that. Next, I read some nonfiction, The Nocturnal Brain, Nightmares, Neuroscience, and the Secret World of Sleep by Dr. Guy Leschziner. I thought this book was very interesting. I grabbed this, I don't think I have anything else from that bookstore, but I went on a like girls weekend trip to New Orleans, and so I grabbed this book in a bookstore while I was there, and I'm really glad that I did. Neuroscience I find really interesting. And also, I have a lot of weird sleep things. So, like, when I saw something that was, like, the science of sleep, that really interested me. And so, I don't know. I just thought this was an interesting book. It was a quick read for nonfiction, and I feel like I came away from it knowing something. So, that's always a plus. All right, up next, I have a book that one of my friends actually mailed to me. Thanks, Anna. This is Golden Boys by Phil Stamper. This is a book about 4 queer boys in high school who all kind of go their different ways for a summer. It's kind of like the Girlhood of the Traveling Pants, except they're not like mailing something back and forth. It's about all these friends and the different summers they're having and the different things that they learn about themselves and like what they want for their future and stuff. It's a cute book. Very fun, like, summer read, I feel like. There were some things that I found a little unrealistic. Like, one of the boys is an intern in Washington, D.C., and I've never been an intern in Washington, D.C. for a politician, so I could be completely wrong. But I did feel like he was given a surprising amount of responsibility for a child in the position that he had. That's just like an example of something where I was a little bit like, eh. But again, overall, I thought this was a really fun read, and yeah. All right, up next we have They Both Die at the End by Adam Silvera. I feel like everyone and their cousin has heard about this book. This is set in, I think the time period is actually supposed to be like now, but there's like this technology where this corporation knows what day you're going to die, and so you get like a phone call at midnight and they're like, this is your last day, like make the most of it, if you will. And so this book follows 2 boys who end up meeting through an app because they've both gotten the phone call that today is their last day. The title gives away the ending, so I can't say that I'm gonna spoil anything for you. The book just follows these 2 boys and their last day together, and both boys just happen to be queer, and you can probably figure out most of the story from there. I feel like my opinion on this book might be kind of a hot take because, like I said, I feel like everyone and their cousin has read this book, and also everyone and their cousin loves this book, and I just didn't think it was that great. Like, it is sad that they both die, but again, you go into it knowing before you even pick up the book that they're gonna die at the end. And the writing was just the writing and the story and like everything about it I did not find super inspiring. I think for what it is, it's fine. It's not bad. I just wish that it did more. Next up, I have The Atlas 6 by Olivia Blake. I actually really enjoyed this book. I liked how it was from the different perspectives of 6 different main characters, pretty much. And these characters are all very elite, like upper echelons of society, very well educated, and they are recruited into this magical secret society that has all of the knowledge of the Library of Alexandria. And they have to spend a year. Basically, they have like a research project to do, and they are competing to become one of the 5 new members in the secret society. And like I said, there's 6 of them, so they end up finding out that they have to kill one of their group so that the other 5 can move on and be inducted into the society. And so this book follows them during that year and them finding out things that are maybe wrong with the society, and also trying to figure out which one of the 6 the rest of them want to kill. So I found this book very interesting. I liked that the characters were not likable. Like a lot of the books that I read and I think that are written, you're supposed to like your main character. So I always find it interesting when you come across a book where characters are intentionally written to be like imperfect or dumb or just not likable. And I feel like all of these characters were morally gray, and some of them are just like downright kind of icky in my opinion. But I liked that. So I enjoyed this book and I can't wait to continue the series. Okay, another book mailed to me by my friend Anna that I have to mail back. But I'm going to be buying my own copy. This is One Last Stop by Casey McQuiston. I loved this book so much. So this is about a young woman named August who has moved to New York, and like she has all these dreams about this New York life that she's going to have. And she ends up meeting this girl, Jane, on the subway. And she sees Jane every time she's taking the train. This is gonna rhyme, Jane and train. Anyway, and her and Jane kind of start this like not really like at first like not really relationship, just like, you know, it's someone you see like on your commute to work or whatever, and they have like little conversations. And they end up finding out that Jane has somehow slipped through time and is actually from the 70s and is trapped where she can only be on the subway, and has been on the subway since the 70s. And the book is trying to figure out how to get Jane off of the subway again, whether that means sending her back to the 70s or getting her back in like present time, or also the risk of something happening to her trying to get her out of this time slip. I just thought this book was super cute, super fun. I love both of these women. And yeah, I don't know what else to say about this except I'm very happy that I read this book. I like it a lot. Okay, and finally I have The Deep Dark River by Hannah Kate Stallo. This is a book that I wish to God I knew where I got the recommendation for this book, because it's so random that I had this like on my list of like books that I wanted to buy and read. It's self-published, so I really don't know where it came from. It is set in New Orleans, not modern time, I think, but I don't know what time. So I got this to read on the, like I said, I went to New Orleans on like a trip, and so I got this to read while I was there. It is about, let's see, there's Teche, an immortal serpent god who is the son of the Mississippi River. Someone is trying to kill him, and there's these two people that are trying to help him solve this mystery, I think. This book was not great. Again, wondering how this ended up like on my radar. And I feel like it looks like aggressively self-published because the font is huge and like, I don't know, the spacing to me just screams unprofessional. And overall, the writing in this was, I don't know what this book was, a fever dream, honestly. So I can't say that I would recommend this, unfortunately. I don't really remember much of what happened because, again, it was really weird. It didn't make a ton of sense. It was a absolute fever dream. So that's that. That is all of the books that I read in June. You can probably tell by the empty shelf, and I've tried to angle this so like the rest of my messy space would not be in the frame, but I am in the process of moving right now, so whatever I film next will be in a different space, and hopefully I will finally have a good setup, and hopefully I can figure something out where I don't have to, nor do I want to, like, constantly move and redo things. So fingers crossed on that one. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you in my next video. Bye!